Hey Shazoolo. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I still don't know. I've seen a couple of videos that you've gone back and forth with Prince Lord Chris. I think one was done a while ago, and then you made a response to him. I just want to make a couple points right off the top on your response and on your previous vid. First of all, we'll do it backwards and we'll talk about the response. You'd said that he was assuming that you'd only read the one book and that you didn't have any experience in that before, but you haven't really offered what your experience is. So really, he's only left to assume that. He has to assume something about you if he's going to respond to you. So there's that. Secondly, you make a comment about the books being fluff, but you offer no critical analysis of the book. You take a few excerpts, but you don't really get into and chew on those details. One of the things that got me about your response vid was that you claim that fairies are evil. What if even the good ones are just acting good to be, to ensnare you? So let's use this logic towards your beliefs. Since you don't worship fairies and you don't have fairies, I don't worship fairies either, but I recognize fairies as part of my belief system, and I use them in my magical workings. I wouldn't really say that we do prayers to fairies. I don't think prayer is the right word, but considering that you don't use magic, prayer would probably be the only word in your vocabulary that would work for that. That's not to be demeaning, it's just saying that there's different religious vocabularies between the two religions. So we'll leave it at that. The thing, though, that got me was that you're using this very highly speculative argument that all fairies are bad, and what if, without really any basis to it except for this Joe Fisher book, which I'll get to in a second. Let's talk about that kind of what if argument in the context of your beliefs. What if your God is actually evil? What if he's just acting like a good God and performing miracles once in a while, or allowing you to think they're miracles, so that you'll believe in him? But really, the book of the Bible and Christianity is really meant as a control mechanism to ensnare people into being divisive towards each other and hateful towards each other, and it promotes slavery and demeans women, but yet he's supposed to be an all-good God. So, I'd say that there's more evidence to say that your God is acting good and actually evil than fairies. Because I've been working with fairies for a decade now, and I've never had a bad experience. I'm not saying that there aren't bad experiences, because like Prince Lord Chris said, it's very, possible that just like, if you're walking in a forest, you can come across good animals and bad animals. You're just as likely to come across, a snake as you are across a bunny rabbit, Some animals and some spiritual animals have a predatory nature, and others have a more friendly nature. In fact, the Celts even got into this and classified different groups of fae as the Seelie and Unseelie courts that walked around at different times of day. And if you came across the Unseelie court, they were most likely to kill you. If you came across the Seelie court, they were most likely to be beneficial to you. It's all about understanding where you're walking and treading lightly. And I think Chris made that point eloquently in his first video. It doesn't really change anything, because we know from our experiences with fairies that there are good fairies and bad fairies, regardless of the what-if argument, which doesn't really have any real basis other than speculation. What if all the fairies are aliens? We could say that just as easily. So without making wild speculations as to what ifs, we have to go with the facts of what our experiences with fairies tell us. Now, not everybody believes in fairies, because not everybody's had experience with fairies, but those people who haven't had experience with fairies can only go by their own experiences, and those experiences of those people that they trust to discern about fairies. that gets me into the Joe Fisher book. You had mentioned that Joe Fisher had taken his own life. Now, for me, I don't want to bash people who have committed suicide. Suicide has touched my life many times. There's been people in my close family, many of my close friends who have committed suicide. And by the way, they were all Christian. I'm one of, out of my circle of friends, I'm one of the very few pagans. So, it's not a thing of, them being touched by the occult or something like that caused them to commit suicide. Suicide is usually, a cause of depression, sometimes delusion, and other types of mental illness, which cause someone to, think that they're better off dead than alive. And this type of mental illness kind of puts into question his observational skills in the book, and from my perspective. It would seem to me, number one, that if this book is based on mostly negative experiences, that he's probably dealing with mostly negative energy. And if you're dealing with mostly negative energy, then that energy is going to come back on you. Number two, the simple fact that he did commit suicide would say to me that he probably was suffering from some sort of mental illness, and therefore his information can't really be taken too credibly. I've never seen his material in occult references or anything like that in the 10 years that I've been, a witch and occultist. And, the fact that I have a degree in religion and, studied different types of religion, religious mythology, and religious critical analysis. So, in all that, I've never heard of this guy, and I think that's probably a good reason. I don't want to just come and discredit your source like that, but really it's one source out of many that will tell you that they've had good experiences with fairies. So therefore, the evidence to suggest that what Prince Lord Chris said was true, which is that there's good fairies and bad fairies, still stands. Now, you make a comment in your previous vid about, kind of the same thing, the what if argument, and, what if fairies are evil and stuff like that, and once again, when you make an argument like that, you allow yourself to be open to other people making that same argument about things that you believe. So therefore, if you make this what if argument with no real basis, then I can say, well, what if your God is really my friend Dave? It doesn't really stand true. It's not a credible argument to make wild speculations. And when you do make wild speculations, it's kind of like fear-mongering, which I kind of take offense to, just a little bit. Because fear-mongering to me is trying to sway people towards your line of thinking by appealing to their fear instead of to their logic. What I'm trying to do here is appeal to your logic. Not to try to get you to believe the way that I do, but to get you to think about the things that you're saying about fairies, the occult, and things like that in a more logical and critical thinking manner. So, this is meant to be a respectful video. I just wanted to make a couple comments. I know the video wasn't even directed to me. I happened to watch just the first part. I haven't watched the second part. And I thought that I would make those comments. So, blessed be.